Welcome, brother. I'm JK Emezi, founder and head coach of the PornReboot system. You can learn more about us by visiting elevatedrecovery.org. Now, if you're trying to end your out-of-control behavior and you need support and you need help, then this YouTube channel is a great place to get that. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the little bell icon on the top so that you get notifications each time I release a video. I release videos 4 times a week. Today, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about why your porn addiction is not a moral issue and is more of a brain issue. The reason I bring this up is because many guys struggle with ending their out-of-control behavior. They struggle with certain therapists, counselors, groups, and approaches to ending this behavior because a huge part of that is a moral problem. See, in the PornReboot system, before you even follow our system, the first thing that has to change is your beliefs. We have to challenge your limiting beliefs, which may prevent you from actually implementing the system. So I'm going to be talking about 3 reasons why you should consider your porn addiction to be a brain problem instead of a moral problem. The first reason is that right now, if you're trying to end this behavior, you're already caught up in a cycle of slipping, which simply means that you're trying to end this behavior and you're going to relapse. It's not going to be perfect, and sometimes you're going to consider it to be failure, especially when you haven't been introduced to a system. So you're like, oh, I'm failing all the time. I'm failing in my attempts to end this behavior. But when you add a moral problem to it, that I'm a bad person for watching this type of pornography, I am a sinful person for watching this type of pornography, I'm a person who is not deserving of certain things because I engage in this, you're only adding to this perceived failure. See, when you try to end a compulsive behavior, what you're actually doing is you're rewiring your brain. And success in this is not a straight line. It's zigzags. And you've got to learn different things. You've got to learn things about boundaries. You've got to learn things about accountability. You've got to learn things about your schedule. You've got to learn things about your emotions and isolate. There's so many things that you've got to learn. But all these things are natural biological changes you have to make with any compulsive behavior, right? It's not going to be perfect. But the issue when it comes to this being a moral problem is that you are either moral or you are not. So basically, slipping means more failure. Whereas when it comes to this being a brain issue, slipping simply means there's something that I need to change. Like something happened, right? Maybe I was stressed out. Maybe I was overwhelmed. Maybe I was bored, right? Now you can notice these things when you consider your porn addiction to be a moral problem. However, the first concern is not what happened biologically. The first concern is, I'm a bad person, which leads us to self-confidence and self-esteem. See, self-confidence is how you feel about what you do. And when it comes to this being a biological issue, you can have low self-confidence in your ability to reboot. That's a completely different thing. Your self-confidence would be higher in other areas, in your ability to be a good father, in your ability to run your business successfully, in your ability to play a sport well, right? Take care of your health. High self-confidence in that, low self-confidence when it comes to this process of rebooting. But when you view your porn addiction as a moral issue, it affects your self-esteem. And your self-esteem is how you feel about who you are as a person. And this encompasses all areas of your life. Now that's a problem because when you slip and you feel that you have a moral shortcoming, then you are going to feel that you are not a good person. And this is going to seep into your career, your relationship, your health, all areas of your life. This is the first reason why you should view your porn addiction as more of a brain problem and less of a moral problem. The second reason is that morality is very diverse across the board. Now, some of us assume that we all have the same morals, but if I was to ask you, what your morals are right off the top of your head in the next 10 seconds. Most people will say, don't lie, don't kill, don't steal, treat other people the way you want to be treated. But morality is not the thing, it's not something that we actually sit down and write about. Personally, we don't write out, these are my morals. They're usually more of general rules that we've picked up from different places, right? Some of them are our personal morals from our experiences we've had. Some of them are picked up from our parents, from society. A lot of them are picked up from religion, and many of them are assumed. The problem is they vary across the board. So for instance, I've met religious people, and if I were to break them down into 3 categories, religious people who claim to be very moral. However, among those religious people, there's a small minority who would never lie about anything. They wouldn't lie about anything at all, even if it ended up hurting other people, because their morals are that ingrained in them. And then there's some people who would lie under certain circumstances. They would lie to save other people. They would lie to not hurt other people because, this person wants to hear the truth. They can't handle the truth. It's going to hurt them, so I'm going to lie. And then at the top, we have people who are absolutely compulsive liars, but who claim to be the most righteous people out there. And again, this is just how it works. It's neither good nor bad. That's just the way morals vary. Then when it comes to our personal morals, I use myself as an example. And this is probably something I believe to be moral, which you may not agree with that because that's not part of your belief. I believe, for instance, that if you are a healthy man, right? Healthy adult man who is over the age of 25 and you live in a Western democracy, you have no intellectual shortcomings, which means that at the most basic level you can read, write, and do basic math. And you are broke. That means you have no money for a large portion of your life, years and years and years. You're not incarcerated, you're not locked up. A free, intelligent, educated male in a Western democracy, and you are broke. I don't believe that is moral. I don't view you as a moral person. I'm not saying that you're a bad person. I'm not saying you're a person who I feel needs to be hurt or punished or anything like that. I just don't personally think it's moral. You may be like, well, JK, why don't you? Like, why is that your personal moral? Because I've seen that hurt people. And at one point, even though I wasn't 25, I was younger, my being broke and being around broke people hurt other people. It hurt my parents because they wanted the best for me, but I was a porn addict who didn't know how to manage money. And so they were always supporting me with the little that they could early in my 20s. I saw other friends who were these were friends back in the day, who were in a similar situation, and they were leeching off their girlfriends. Then as I got older and I became financially independent, I noticed adults who were not able to take care of their parents in their old age or support their loved ones when there was a health issue because they were always making bad decisions with their finances. And so I just saw that it created more pain than anything. And it usually happened because this individual did not choose to change something in their life. So that's why I view it as a moral issue. But like I said, you may not agree with that for whatever reason, and it doesn't matter. My point is, our morals vary greatly. And if our morals vary so greatly across the board, how can we expect to recover and escape from the grips of a compulsive behavior based on it being a moral issue, based on it being something that varies so much? But when you view it to be a brain issue, there's no argument there. A brain issue is a brain issue. What does that mean? Well, what it simply means is that if you're struggling from porn-induced erectile dysfunction because you overexposed yourself to stimuli in high-speed internet pornography, now you can't get an erection and have sex with your wife, with your partner, well, it's the same across the board. Every other man who has porn-induced erectile dysfunction has it for the same reason. There's nothing to argue about there. There's no ups or downs. It's not like, oh, my personal morals or this or that, all those things. The cause and the effect is the same. But when it comes to morals, the cause varies across the board. How are you going to find a counselor or a system or whatever that matches your exact morals? You may find somebody who matches, or a system that matches one part of your morals, and as you get to know them and as they're helping you in this behavior, suddenly the other conflicting things that come up. And that's why there are many men who end up in 12-step groups who end up leaving because they agree with certain moral parts of this, but they don't agree in giving up your power to a higher power or admitting that you're powerless, because they don't think that is a good thing to do. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's the second reason. The third reason why you should consider your porn addiction to be more of a brain issue and less of a moral issue is that the moral solutions to problems involve only two things. They involve willpower and they involve punishment, all right? The education that goes around that still leads to those two solutions. And I'm just saying this for those of you who are like, no, there are things that you need to understand about being moral. It doesn't matter. The only way that it is implemented is through willpower and punishment. A good example is when I was being raised, I was raised as a Catholic as a child growing up, and I'm no longer Christian right now. But back then, anytime I had a question about why I should do a specific thing as a young boy, I was told that you just have to do it because that's what the education you're given says. You must do it. I was like, all right, fine. When I didn't want to do it, then I was punished, right? When I didn't feel like I had to do it, I had to use willpower to do this. But while I was doing all those things, it wasn't enjoyable. It was just something that I began to resent over the years, and eventually I completely rebelled against it. And so when it comes to treating this as a brain issue, when you have a solution, the solution to a brain issue is usually a system, and a system is reliable, which means that you know that each time you apply it, it's going to work. When you feel a very strong urge and you apply something from the system, like the PornReboot system, you know that your urge is going to disappear. The second thing is that it is predictable. You know when you're going to sleep. You know that. You can predict before you travel based on what your schedule has been like this past week, based on your self-care, how you've been implementing your boundaries. You already know whether you're going to slip or not. And the final thing is that it is consistent. There are no ups and downs. If you apply the system and you stick to it, it's going to work. And due to that, there's no need for willpower because this flows smoothly. It works, it gives you consistent results which make you feel better and better about yourself. You don't need to be punished to do it. And there you have it, brothers. Those are the three main reasons why you should view your porn addiction as more of a brain issue and less of a moral issue. And if this is something that you've been struggling with for a while and you're curious to learn more about the PornReboot system and how we can permanently end your porn addiction, there are a couple of ways that I can help you. The first way is to download a free copy of my ebook. It's called Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men. And it talks about the different things that men, clients of mine specifically, have done to stay off porn for over 5 years. The second thing is you can join our free, private, and confidential Facebook group. It's called the PornReboot group, and it's a place where you can learn more about our system, be in the right community, and find yourself a great accountability partner. And finally, if you are at a stage where you need to control your behavior within 90 days, or you need to permanently end your behavior, and you're done reading books, watching videos, you just want action, then you might be a good fit for one of our coaching programs. We have 2 programs. One is called the PornReboot Intensive, and the second is called the PornReboot Implementation Program. I want to make it very clear, there's a link to in the description below to click and put in an application, but before you do so, make sure you are at a point where you are fully committed to ending this behavior. If not, you're not going to make it through the first call, okay? We're only looking for men who are absolutely ready to end their behavior. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I'm JK, your brother in the struggle, and I'll speak to you later on in the week.